Alright, guys, as some of you may know, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. I've been searching all over Netflix to watch Dragon Ball episodes, but unfortunately, Netflix here just doesn't have them. But you know which version of Netflix does? Netflix Japan. Some of you might be wondering, how on earth am I accessing Netflix Japan, right? Well, that's where NordVPN comes in. NordVPN is one of the top VPN services out there. It allows you to mask your location and browse securely, which is perfect for protecting your privacy. Plus, NordVPN can basically change your location to anywhere in the world with just a few clicks. So it's just as easy as that. That's how I'm able to access Netflix Japan and binge all of the Dragon Ball episodes that I can fathom. It's not just about watching international shows, however. NordVPN adds an extra layer of security basically as you're browsing, so your personal information stays safe and your online activity remains private. If you want to unlock more content and protect your privacy online, head over to nordvpn.com/Harariboy to get over 70% off a 2-year subscription plus 3 months free. And if you don't like it, you can cancel within 30 days and get a money back guarantee. It is worth the peace of mind and extra content you'll have access to. Thank you. Today's episode, we are going to cover a few topics here. First of which, how lone wolf achieve success. We're going to react to some videos. One main one was Dave Ramsey recently did a Tucker Carlson interview, which was very informative, and we're going to react to that. I also want to discuss some tax law stuff, since there is a lot of misinformation out there, and I'll let you guys hear from some experts on that. Or I should say the expert on that. And then we have assumable mortgages. We're also going to discuss about it's a very tough environment when it comes to real estate nowadays. So this could possibly be a solution for what's going on. Finally, we will go over AI jobs and some new stuff and development coming in that space. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, for this first one, how lone wolf achieves success. Essentially, the gist of what I'm trying to achieve with this is having no friends is better than having bad friends. I'm sure you guys heard that phrase before. Oftentimes, success is achieved alone, by yourself, in isolation and focus. Don't announce your next move and show the final results. Never ever talk about the work that it takes, you know? With that being said, Dave Ramsey had an interesting conversation regarding to this topic, and I think it's going to be very helpful for you guys to take a look. So let's go ahead and take a look and react. All right, let's go.
Brian is with us in Michigan. Hey, Brian, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
So I have a question for you. You know, my fiance and I, we have been on your plan for about 5 months now, and we've been able to pay off $20,000 in debt.
Way to go.
And my question for you is, though, I try to get other friends and family on your plan, and I've already had I've already had one friend that says that sometimes when I talk about your plan and what I've been able to do myself, that I come across as maybe as a show off and stuff like that. So my question for you is,
so you already see where this conversation is going. He's affected by essentially what his friends are telling him, and this is why what they think just doesn't matter. Honestly speaking. I'm sure he's going to divulge into that more, but I just have to emphasize, like, hey, if you really want to be something, don't tell people what you're about to do. Just do it, and do it in isolation. Eventually, those same people that will basically say, like, oh, why are you doing this and that? They'll see why.
Is how do I approach family and friends and talk about why your plan works and why they should, get on your plan without coming across as, just full of myself or something like that. You know what I mean?
I can already tell by Dave Ramsey's facial expressions here. Like, yeah, this is going to be a good answer. So let's go ahead and take a look.
I don't think that person's a real friend.
Yeah, Dave. And I mean, I try to get people on. I try to get people on your plan and let them know, hey, this is what I've been able to do. I've been able.
No, it's not. That's not the point. I mean, the point is, if you're winning at anything, and your friend says you're a show off, that's just somebody's jealous. That's not a friend.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a friend that lost 200 pounds. Okay, and I don't think he's a show off. I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
He's changed his whole life. His whole physical appearance has changed completely. It's absolutely amazing. He was a big old boy, and he's in great shape now. And I'm so proud of him. I don't think he's a show off. And he talks about food and eating and exercise till I'm sick of hearing about it, honestly. But I'm still proud of him. He's my friend. I'm happy for him. I'm celebrating his success with him. And so, this is sometimes how you gauge the people you are going to spend time with. Again, you don't want to be obnoxious about how you're doing it, but just go, guys, I'm sorry if it sounds bad, but I'm just so excited. This is the first time I've ever had a handle on this thing, and money used to just beat the snot out of me, and I was so bad at it, and now I'm winning, and I'm got a bunch of this debt paid off, and I'm fired up. And you don't have to, be obnoxious Dave Ramsey fan. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be obnoxious about the fact you did it. All you're doing is just going, celebrate with me. I'm having some victory here. But if you can't celebrate your own family, your own friends scoring a touchdown, and jump up and down and yell with them and say, this is awesome, then that's on them. There's not a really certain way you do that. Manners dictate you don't talk about yourself all the time. That'd be part of it, I guess. But other than that, I mean, really.
There you have it. Oh, by the way, a very good conversation starter that I've learned from just listening to other people. If you are ever like antisocial or you find it hard to just, stir up conversation with, in networking events and environments like that, one of the key things you can use is just ask the person about themselves. People will totally love to divulge in what they do and what they've accomplished and stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there. I just thought I'd give that tangent there. But what he's saying is very true. Yeah, I mean, don't brag about yourself. Obviously, that's the whole don't announce your next move, and keep yourself in isolation. Then when you do achieve your big results, whether you graduate, you get that promotion, you hit it big in your business, whatever the case might be, people are going to see that. You don't have to show it off. You don't have to show it to them. They're going to hear about you, whether you be in the news or, your LinkedIn update or whatever the case might be. People will hear about you. So you shouldn't live for them. You should just do what is best for you. Kind of be selfish in that matter. I know people like to run away from the word selfish. I don't mean like be greedy, but definitely look out for yourself first and foremost, and things will definitely fall into place. So I thought I'd give you guys that tidbit there because especially nowadays, this has been a problem, and it's definitely the first step to taking that first step into a successful future. All right, so moving right along to our next topic. Essentially, I want to go over this new type of mortgage. It's not really a new mortgage per se. I mean, in the late 1990s and 1980s, this has been used a lot, especially in the early 1900s as well. But yeah, it's called assumable mortgages. You don't see it much these days, but now, with TikTok and everything is like starting to catch fire again. But essentially, a lot of people are having a hard time finding a home in general. But assumable mortgages essentially gives them the ability to take over an existing mortgage and like an existing mortgage term from the seller. But there's a lot of nuances and a lot of details that go into it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what CNBC has to say about it.
wife and I have been looking for a new home for the last 2 years.
This is Wes Fandel. He is a new homeowner who is facing many of the same issues other prospective homebuyers have faced in this hot housing market.
We really just hadn't had much luck, mainly due to increasing interest rates driving up the cost of our mortgage. We did put in a couple of offers that didn't go anywhere just because it's a very hot housing market here.
But the Vandal story is a little different than most homebuyers navigating the market right now.
We found one that popped up. It was the right size, it was the right area, but we knew it was a little bit out of our budget just because the interest rate was too high. Just happened to look at the Realtor app again, and there was a button on that app that said, "This home has an assumable mortgage."
With the Vandal
So a lot of the apps now are starting to have this option, which is actually pretty good. Let's keep watching here.
Vandals found is a rare type of mortgage called an assumable mortgage, landing them a 2.6% mortgage rate as opposed to the 2024 average, which sits just above 6%.
An assumable mortgage is a type of home loan where the buyer can actually take over the existing mortgage terms from the seller.
That meant a difference of over $800 a month.
A common occurrence in the 19
Yeah, so on the surface, it seems like a viable option, but here comes the nuance.
70s and 80s, assumable mortgages are a rare find in today's real estate market. In 2023, only 4,052 Federal Housing Administration mortgages were assumed. That's still a 59% increase in FHA mortgage assumptions since 2021. For Veterans Affairs mortgages, the jump is even larger, with 2,244 mortgage assumptions in 2023, an increase of 713% compared to 2021. And 2024 assumptions are already outpacing previous years for both the VA and FHA. So what are assumable mortgages? How do they work, and why aren't they more common?
The vast majority of homeowners don't actually know that they have an assumable mortgage, buyers don't know how to find them, and agents don't know how to coordinate the purchase.
Most assumable mortgages might be a rare find. Public interest
Yeah, so keyword rare find. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? But a lot of those people that, had their home on the market for like over a year, definitely, resort to these kind of tactics here. But yeah, so it's just keep that in mind. It's a lot easier to find now, especially if like Zillow app, Redfin, and stuff like that are incorporating a button that will allow you to filter just assumable mortgage. This is definitely something new and something that's very helpful in today's buyer's market.
in them is climbing. Google searches for the term assumable mortgage have climbed in tandem with increasing mortgage rates over the past 2 years.
This is the most unaffordable time to purchase in America of the last
100%.
40 years. 60 million people were priced out from being able to purchase a home.
When it comes to the average U.S. home buying experience, most Americans follow the same process. A buyer approaches a lender to get pre-approved for a mortgage. When the buyer settles on a home, they use their own mortgage to cover the cost at a fixed rate. The home buyer then pays off that mortgage over the term of the loan, normally 15 or 30 years. What an assumable mortgage offers is the option to take over the seller's loan. So instead of taking out your own loan at a new rate, you inherit the remainder of the seller's mortgage at whatever rate they took it out at. So a homebuyer that took out an assumable mortgage in 2020 could offer an interested homebuyer a sub 3% mortgage rate.
For the homeowner, the value of including their low rate mortgage in their home sale is to maximize their probability of being able to sell the home by expanding the universe of buyers who can afford to purchase it.
In the 1970s and 80s, U.S. interest rates hit record highs, peaking at 18% in 1981. Assumable mortgages were more popular then, but have largely fallen out of public consciousness following the passage of the Garn-St. Germain Act in 1982, allowing private lenders to ask for immediate repayment if a property is sold. This is called a due-on-sale clause.
Assumable mortgages are not really popular at all.
Yeah, so there's some laws in place preventing some of these, but yeah, let's keep taking a look here.
Simply because they're very limited.
Assumable mortgages do come with their own set of hurdles. The possibility of higher than expected down payments, knowledgeable lenders and real estate agents, and the fact that they're only offered through government-backed loans. VA, FHA, and United States Department of Agriculture mortgages are now the main type of mortgages able to be assumed in the U.S.
There you go. So it's not going to work on your private, conventional loans. Essentially, your best bet is probably FHA. to just assume that. But yeah, let's keep watching here.
The most popular state in America for assumable mortgages is Texas. This is because there's a large military population there, and also a large first-time home buyer population there.
We are a military community, so there's an Air Force base in our community where there are a lot of VA loans. It's also a younger, college town, so there's a lot of FHA loans within our community.
And government-backed loans mean more paperwork. So if you are looking to enter into an assumable mortgage, get ready to settle in. They can take a while to close.
So assumable mortgages are very complicated and they involve a lot of paperwork, and that's why a lot of lenders simply don't want to do them. Some don't even really understand them.
So there's a lot more detail information that is required. We were told right up front by the mortgage company that the process is going to take at least 90 days.
Wow.
Homebuyers should also be prepared to put down more money than the typical 20% down payment. Assumable mortgages require buyers to...
Yeah, I wouldn't call this a catch, but for lack of a better term, here's the catch. You're probably thinking like, oh wow, I can just assume the mortgage and just pay off whatever's remaining, and that's it. Actually, it's not that easy, and they're going to explain this more. You're going to have to pay that money up front. So you're going to have to pay essentially the 20% at least 20% down payment. And then on top of that, you're going to have to pay whatever the seller has paid into the house. So essentially the equity, that's already been paid into, you're still covering that. But the difference is that you're covering it up front rather than throughout time, like you would with another loan. That's not assumable. Yeah, let's keep watching here. They'll explain better.
Cover the money already paid towards the mortgage, as well as any appreciation on the home price.
We've seen really rapid
like
home
that.
price appreciation. So somebody who has a home that they had 20% equity in may now have a lot more money in that home than they originally had.
For example, say a homeowner took out a 30-year fixed-rate VA loan for a home at $200,000 and paid off about $25,000 of that over 2 years. The person assuming the mortgage would have to pay the buyer the money they've already invested, that $25,000. Additionally, if that homeowner decides to sell their home for $250,000, the buyer has to cover the additional $50,000 in appreciation, either in cash or by taking out a second mortgage.
A little bit of a guessing game initially because you're negotiating on what the sale price will be of the house, of course. You don't really know up front what is owed on the house either. Got lucky in that respect where what was owed on the house versus what we had settled on for a sale price was almost exactly that same 20% we had saved for our down payment.
One of the biggest hurdles for getting an assumable mortgage? Awareness, not just by buyers, but sellers who don't know how to advertise their home as assumable.
So about a fifth of the homes on the market, or 20 to 25% of the homes on the market, will be fully assumable at one time. The number of assumption transactions that are happening is far fewer than the number of mortgages which can be assumed.
While assumable mortgages can be hard to find, and at times complex, companies like Realm are working to streamline the process for buyers and sellers.
98% of the people who have these loans don't know that it can be a marketing advantage. Because what kind of homeowner sits around thinking about their loan type being the marketing advantage in their home sale?
Other companies like Assumable.io and AssumeList can help match interested homebuyers with assumable mortgages.
I think once that word starts getting out, this is a possibility, we're going to see more and more of these pop up.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, it's not rocket science at the end of the day. It's just a little restructuring, but a couple key points is that in your down payment, you do have to pay what's been paid into the house and the appreciation as well. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. It's definitely going to be expensive upfront, but will save you in the long run. So this could be a viable option for some of you out there. Thank you. All right. Now, speaking of politics and law, I want to get to this next part here, which is essentially, I want to introduce you guys to a tax law accountant that I came across on YouTube recently, just as I was scrolling through my feed. She's going pretty viral and she seems to really know her stuff. I mean, she has all the certifications for tax law and she's worked on some big clients in the past, right? So I mean, obviously that's not my background, so I want you guys to hear from the actual expert here, rather than the tax gurus or so-called gurus, financial gurus out there telling you that you can write everything off, and all that stuff. So before I divulge too much into it, let's go ahead and react.
I'm living a lifestyle that I'm living because everything in this world is free. You just gotta write it off. I just bought a Mercedes G-Wagon. Wanna know how I got it for free? I keep my laptop inside of it. It's a mobile office. A chef? Automatic write-off. During a meal, I just tell my wife, hey, we need Post-it.
This is so accurate. For so long, tax gurus have gone completely unchecked, where if they just say something confidently enough, then it is presumed to be true. And the pattern I see is that tax gurus don't have this thing we call experience or the ability to tax research, so they believe in their heart of hearts that what they are saying is actually true. It's like that D student who leaves an exam being like, I crushed it, because that person literally knew so little that they couldn't even spot the things that they didn't know. So for more accurate tax advice from a tax attorney, CPA, and an enrolled agent who has spent the last decade learning and working and not just doing social media, subscribe.
I'm living
100%. I mean, translation, she's a real deal. She knows what she's talking about. And I'm sure a lot of other tax law accountants out there that actually have their certifications and everything like that know what they're talking about. So you need to consult somebody like this rather than watching somebody with no credentials whatsoever. They're just telling you what they feel is right, you know, and all that stuff. So yeah, I definitely recommend you guys check out her channel. And there's a couple more things I kind of want to go over here that she touches on when it comes to the political side of things as well, just to kind of rehash what I was the point I was making earlier about politics shouldn't really affect your life. But if you want to know, you know, the different tax plans that Trump has as opposed to Kamala Harris, since it is a election season is near, how you guys can prepare and see like how one or the other is going to affect your life. So yeah, she made some interesting points here. So let's go ahead and react.
I took taxes from 39% to 21%. You know that better than anyone. It's the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. And that was great. That's why we became so successful.
I think we can do that again.
Yeah, I think we can go lower. And I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm bringing it from 21 to 15, but you have to manufacture your product here. And then you pay 15%. And then I'm going to put tariffs on countries so they can't come in and steal our business, so that our businesses now can be competitive.
So with that 2018 tax cut where he said it went from 39% to 21%, he's talking about the top tax rate for C Corps. But actually for some businesses that were under $50,000 in income, it actually went up because the rates used to be progressive where they would increase. So it started at 15% for under $50,000 and of course now went up to 21% for that same $50,000 for C Corps and for actual tax law from a tax attorney. Subscribe.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, perfectly said right there, because there's a lot of misinformation on like what the tax cuts actually do. You know, whether they went to the rich, whether they went to the poor, whatever the case might be. So yeah, that's Trump's tax plan in a nutshell right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at Kamala Harris's.
The current tax deduction for a startup is just $5,000. Part of my plan is we will expand the tax deduction for startups to $50,000.
So Kamala is making this sound way cooler than it really is, because the reality is for most small businesses, they open their doors pretty quickly and they get all of their tax deductions, right? When you think of startup expenses, it's only limited to that period of time for certain types of expenses when you haven't yet opened your doors and started an active trade or business. Now, even then, it's very limited as far as what type of expenses even count. So your classic business that's going to spend a lot of money before opening their doors is probably doing things like capital improvements or things like research and development, R&D, developing a software. And those types of expenses are still required to be capitalized and wouldn't even benefit from this proposal and for actual tax law from a tax attorney.
Yeah, so essentially, don't believe the hype. Politicians will tell you anything you want to hear just to get elected. Once they get in, you know, essentially nothing happens. So again, as you know, politics should have minimal effects on your life. It's good to stay informed, but don't put yourself in a panic, because at the end of the day, you are in charge of your household. You are the president of your household. So That's all I have to say about that. All right, cool. So, all right, for the next topic here, guys, let's go ahead and get into this interview with Dave Ramsey and Tucker Carlson. There are 3 points that they made that were very, very informative, and I think you guys will benefit a lot. And it's definitely something that's not talked about a lot. So let's go ahead and dive right into that.
I don't understand. So the states, the state of New York, and the federal government, spent decades, a century, putting mafia figures in prison for loan sharking. And that was lending money at high interest rates because it was unfair. It was considered, it was a crime. I think it still is a crime. How is it not a crime when the credit card companies do it?
I don't know. I'm a free market guy. I would rather punish them by taking their customers than by providing regulation.
I get it. I'm not even calling for regulation, but I'm saying that it's regulated when the Genovese family does it, but not when Citibank does it. So how does that work?
Yeah, and how does payday lending still open at 800% interest?
800?
Yeah, 800% interest. And these are poor people they're leaning on. So this is particularly bad.
It's funny because someone like AOC, obviously protector of Black people and the urban poor, like I haven't heard her say one word. I mean, it seems like everybody is kind of colluding against lower income people.
Yeah, and it's biblically unsound. I mean, it's a bad idea.
What does that mean?
If you read in the scripture, you don't want to be on the list of the person who oppresses the poor, the orphan, or the widow. That's not a good list to be on.
Yes.
If you have any idea that there might be a God.
Yes.
Because the things that happens to the people that oppress the poor, the orphan, and the widow are not good. You're supposed to take care of the poor and take care of the widow and take care of the orphan, and it's quite the opposite. And we don't see that kind of sanctified capitalism as much as we should.
I don't see really any of it.
It's out there. There's lots of good companies that do take care of their team. They take care of their employees. They take care of their customers. The customer comes in and they go, this lady just is, her husband just passed away. She's got little kids and she can't eat, and they'll take care of her. I mean, companies do that everywhere. Americans are unbelievably generous.
Yes,
the most generous culture in the history of the world. And that comes through small business. It comes through even big business sometimes.
Americans are the best. It's their institutions are rotten.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem like maybe that's the problem. If you could just reform some of the big institutions, it would be a much happier country with fewer oppressed people. But 800% on a payday loan.
You write a $250 check for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Advance on your paycheck coming in, and they hand you $200, and so it's $50 charge. It's loan sharking rates, and that's not that horrible, so to speak, because if that's all there is. But if you renew that all the way through 1 year, it's 864%, and so that's the typical payday lender. Some states have outlawed payday lenders completely. Others are quote unquote regulating them, but those people are feeding on the poor. Because I got to promise you, the wealthy people are not going in there and doing a $200 to $250 transaction. They're not. Middle class people aren't even, and so it's the same thing as the rent. They're in the same rent to own, title pawning, same end of town.
Can you explain rent to own?
Rent to own is you take a $1,000 washer and dryer, and you pay for it 6 or 8 times monthly because you're renting it. And then they let you own it at the end of it. By the time it's almost worn out. But you could have taken your monthly and gone to a garage sale and bought a good used set.
Yeah.
And had zero debt, zero payments. But again, no one that's middle class or upper class falls for that junk. You don't see those things in the rich end of town.
No, you don't.
You see them when you go into the other side of town, the other side of the tracks.
I mean, credit cards are, I think, so embarrassing. It's almost like a drug habit. Nobody wants to talk about credit card debt. If the average American who has a credit card is $37,000 in debt at over 20% interest, I mean, that's the craziest thing I've heard this week.
And that includes you and me, which have zero. And we're talking an average. Yeah, I mean, someone else has more in order to get to that average if you and I have zero, right?
Yeah, I'm not good at math, and I'm not good at business. I'm not good at managing money. I've definitely had money problems, big time money problems, but I've never had credit card debt because even I, low IQ with numbers guy, could understand like 20% interest is a lot more than.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. Essentially, what it boils down to, yes, corporations are evil who, take away from the poor and oppress the poor and all that stuff. However, the biggest takeaway that I take away personally from this is education. Now, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a financially literate household, and unfortunately, that's not the norm. And essentially, a lot of people just don't know that debt is bad, and they will fall for these type of things like, hey, I can get my money now if I do this, or I can get this item now if I just do this, if I take out the debt and just pay it over time. It's the same thing. What's the difference? I'm not even going to notice the payments. If someone tells you you're not going to notice the payments, please just run away. Run as far as you can, because that is the way that they keep you poor. That is the way they keep you broke. And you're going to have a $25 payment here for this new bed you bought. For the washer and dryer, another $50 payment there, and it all adds up until next thing you know, you're like over 50% of your income is going to debt, and when that could be 50%, going to your pockets. Essentially, a lot of people that do get out of debt, they realize like, oh, I just gave myself a raise. Yeah, because your money is not going to any payments. Imagine if you had that from the beginning. You can invest it. You can do a lot of things with it, like instead of wasting it. And just like what he said, like 1,000% interest, or on a lot of these payday lenders and rent to own, scams that are legal scams going on to oppress the poor. It is what it is. Like, if you don't know about it, you get taken advantage of. And that's kind of what prompted me to kind of go into this space and definitely educate my viewers and hopefully more viewers down this path. Unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of internet gurus, which we'll get into here later on in the podcast, a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people want you to play with a rattlesnake, let's say, get into debt to make money. And, for reasons like this and many more, debt is definitely not the way to go. But let's keep watching this podcast. He brings up some interesting political points to where I definitely want to react to with you guys here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
How do you expect, and please go in order, Kamala Harris?
And by the way, I have no idea why my closed captions are in Spanish. I promise you I did not do that. So let me turn that off.
Harris first, Donald Trump second. How do you expect the economy to change if one is elected or the other is elected? Kamala Harris is elected. What changes?
Well, as a friend of mine says, it's hard to say without knowing, but
that's never stopped me, Dave Ramsey.
Again, this is worth what you folks out there listening are paying for, which is nothing. So, and I'm an expert on my opinion, but the economics, I am sure, and I'm a student of economics. I've got a degree in finance, and so I've spent my time on that. I've spent my whole life on the subject, micro primarily, but macro is implied. But economics, for sure, we see it in the stock market. We see it in the stuff after the pandemic with supply chain. We see it with oil, energy movement, that kind of thing. Is as much psychology as it is mathematics, because it's about expectations and self-fulfilling prophecies. So, in other words, if I believe as a small business guy, and 54% of the gross domestic product is small business produced, okay? So people that have 500 or fewer employees are making the decisions on over half of the economy. And so this heating and air guy or a guy that's got a financial planning services business, or a lady that owns a chiropractor office, okay, are they going to invest some of their profits in growing their business? Rent a little larger space and hire another person to work on their team. They have to believe in order to do that. So it is self-fulfilling prophecy. If they think things are bad, then they take actions that make them bad, because they don't invest, they don't hire the next person, and instead they pile that cash in the bank account because they're looking over their shoulder like death is coming over the corner, right around the corner. And so when people don't believe under any president that things are going to be good, they take actions to make it worse. When they do believe, then they create actions that make the person look like they caused something in the White House, and really the small business guy is the one that caused something to happen. When I was interviewing President Trump the other day, I said, when you politicians, and so you've been a businessman, President Trump, and a politician, and when you people say, I created jobs as a politician, it pisses those of us that actually create jobs off, because you don't create any jobs. All you do is create an environment where we'll go create jobs.
100%.
I'll hire people at Ramsey if you give me more of my tax money back, Art Laffer, right? And I'll hire more people at Ramsey and grow what we do if I think I'm safe, if I'm in a predictable environment.
That's right.
And that's what scares me about Vice President Harris is I don't think there is a solid program. Even if I didn't agree with the program, I can't tell what it is. And so as a businessman,
you want clarity.
Her ambiguity is more scary than my disagreement with her policy.
Smart. No, I think, and you think that's true for most businesses?
Oh, I guarantee you it is. It's if you're a solid Democrat and you believe in the Democratic Party, okay, and that's your thing, which you're probably not listening to this podcast, but if you are, at least then you would believe that the let me try to find one in the past that was proactive. Kennedy, okay? Of course, Kennedy's economic policies are more Republican than our Democrat in today's world. But find a Democrat that you disagree, that you agree with, and even if their policies are something I wouldn't go along with, I wouldn't do that if I was in. But at least I know what it is. I know what the rules of the game are, and I can tell. Then I'll be more likely to invest. But when you take away my sure footing, even if it's treacherous footing, the ambiguity causes the economy to slow down, and that's what we're sitting in right now. The lack of leadership out of the White House today, as sad as it is, and as many things that, we can joke about it, we shouldn't, but it's easy to do. We can do, but the sheer silence and the frozen like a deer in the headlights for the last, at a minimum 14 months, 15 months, has frozen the freaking economy. It's just sitting and looking at us. And so that's what scares me more than anything else. Even if you disagree with Trump, at least, by God, you know what he's going to do.
For sure.
Drill, baby, drill. Lower taxes. Blow up the thing. He's going to, I'm not in agreement with President Trump on, personally, I didn't discuss this with him, but I think the tariffs thing he's overdoing. I think the tariffs are going to cause some inflation. I agree with some of the economists that have come out against it. Conservative economists come out saying, don't do that, but he's going to tariff up because he's all about the behavior thing. I think it's a bad idea. But at least if I'm buying goods out of Vietnam right now, and my business, my cost of goods sold as a businessman, if I'm buying golds out of Thailand right now, I'm doing some production there. I'm not. But if you are, you're buying stuff out of India right now, you better get ready if Donald Trump's in office for your cost of goods sold to go up. And we know that. But that's a predictable environment, even if it's going to harm my personal little business over here. At least I know it. And still, now I at least know what the rules of the game are, and I can act. And you can still stimulate the economy on ideas you don't agree with because they're predictable, the lack of ambiguity. Ambiguity is what kills the economy.
I understand.
So it's called lack of leadership. Now, that's what the White House can actually do. The White House cannot create the economy. They can create an environment where the economy grows, but they cannot create an economy. They do not have that power. So don't vote for somebody because Donald Trump's going to make you rich. He's not. Kamala Harris is going to make you rich. They're not. The laughable thing when Obama was elected, these people, now where's my free car? Because these people went completely nuts thinking Obama was going to actually hand out candy from the White House. And that entitlement stuff is whacked. But from a business perspective, a businesswoman's perspective, the advantage Trump has over President Trump has over Vice President Harris is that he has a very clear, exacting thing that you can choose to agree with or disagree with, but it's an environment you can function in.
100%. Just like you said, like very well said by Dave Ramsey. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. Key takeaways here. This kind of takes me back to one of my economics professor back in university. Essentially, he was saying that business people don't like they're okay with things going down, like an economic downturn. They're okay with things going up. What they're not okay with is unsurety in the markets, right? And that uncertainty essentially is what drives panic in the economy, and it doesn't make like a good environment for economic success. So that pretty much wraps up what Dave Ramsey is saying here. Politicians really don't have a say in your life or the economy, because they're not the ones out there hiring, right? Directly. The business people are. So how do the business people essentially hire people? It's when you have that environment. So yeah, they can have economic impact on the environment of the economy, which is why the policies matter and stuff like that. But when I'm talking about to your own daily life, as long as you follow the 7 baby steps, as long as you're out of debt, as long as you're investing the way you're supposed to, these things shouldn't even matter to you. Like, politics aside, it has a very minute impact on your overall life and your overall economy, to be honest, because like I said, I mean, if you have a plan in place for yourself, you're going to win regardless who's in the White House. And how do I know that? That's been a proof in the that's been a proven track record since Dave Ramsey has ever started his talk show. He's been in business for about 30-40 years now, and his principles still hold up till now. And not even that, I'll even go back 100 years to where the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, but overall, over the past 100 years, it's grown 10% on average consistently. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, don't take the temporary moments and think that they'll have a lasting impact. As long as you look out for yourself, first and foremost, who's in the White House should not matter. Politics shouldn't matter. All right, so let's get to our last topic for today's podcast, and that is AI jobs. Yes, we're talking about AI today, and I'm sure everyone has been talking about AI, especially as of late. So a lot of fear mongering going around it, but I stumbled upon a news break about this from CNBC, essentially saying that some new jobs essentially are being in regards to AI, how these jobs are being spurred up. So a lot of the big tech companies are looking for AI experts within smaller companies like startups and stuff like that, and they're basically stealing the workers. So it's pretty interesting, but it looks like there's a bidding war at least going on, and this could be good news for the AI future we have yet to see. So let's go ahead and take a look here.
Startups are becoming pawns in the mega cap game of chess. Microsoft absorbs inflection.
The big organizational change happening at Microsoft around AI.
Amazon consumes adept.
This startup was valued at more than $1 billion. Now, most of the company is now going to Amazon.
Google and Character AI. 3 of the biggest tech companies swallowing 3 of the biggest startups in the AI world without actually acquiring them.
The reality is everywhere you look, we see rapid concentrations.
They're quelling competition, poaching top talent, and skirting scrutiny, while regulators are still playing checkers. I'm Deirdre Bosa, and this week on Tech Check, the AI M&A fakeout. Character AI was one of the most promising startups in the age of generative AI. Personalized AI.
How are thee?
Let's get to the bottom of this.
Highly engaging. Loyal user base.
Somebody who sends one message today is active for on average 2 hours in that day.
$150 million in funding at $1 billion valuation.
Character.ai launched its software last September and has had more than 173 million visits last month, a 61% increase from March.
And a founder who pioneered generative AI.
When I got started working on these large language models and inventing this field like in 2016 to 2018, like very few people were excited.
There was just one problem. The startup couldn't make money, and according to reports, it struggled to generate enough revenue from paid users.
Character AI, billion-dollar valuation, pre-revenue, very much feels like the 2010 App Store where you gain a lot of users and kind of figure out the monetization later.
So it turned to a well-established money-printing megacap, Google, which was happy to cut a deal, especially since it was arguably more interested in the talent than the technology. Character AI co-founder Noam Shazir was an author of a groundbreaking paper that laid the foundation for today's age of AI. It would bring Shazir back to Google, along with a fifth of his employees, and license Character's technology without having to outright buy the startup in an acquisition.
Every person on earth is going to be inventing their own applications.
It's a playbook that skirts the regulatory crackdown on big tech dominance, provides an exit for AI startups struggling to make money, and allows megacaps to pick up the talent needed in the AI arms race.
There's a very small number of researchers, AI practitioners that operate at the frontier of the technology. There's probably only thousands right now. And the hyperscalers, the megacaps, want that talent, and they're looking to get it any way they can.
A playbook that Microsoft pioneered. In March, it inked an unusual deal with Inflection, a prominent AI startup with a chatbot to rival ChatGPT's. Again, not an outright acquisition, just a $650 million agreement that would allow Microsoft to use Inflection's AI models and hire away most of its staff, including founder Mustafa Suleyman, whom they put in charge of its entire AI unit.
He co-founded DeepMind back in 2010. That was later acquired by Google. In 2022, he co-founded a company called Inflection. He did that with Reid Hoffman.
In June, Amazon and Adept AI struck a deal. Amazon reportedly paid at least $330 million to license Adept's technology, with a $100 million retention bonus to employees who jumped ship.
A big cost center for these startups.
Wow. So yeah, I mean that's the gist of it right there. They're throwing fat salaries at people to go ahead and build out their AI platforms and things of that nature. So how's this relevant to you? Well, the sooner you can get ahead of the curve on this, AI is the future, the better it is for you. You go ahead and get your certifications, learn more about it, look what these companies are actually looking for, and make all the money that you can with them while you can, but time will tell where this is going to go, if it's actually going to be a positive, like the Industrial Revolution, where new jobs came, where old jobs perished. And it essentially looks like it's trending that direction. I mean, you can't just put people at home. Societies don't really function that way. But I always tell my friends this, but it's probably true. I envision the world of AI being something similar to Star Wars. So it's there to help. Definitely not there to take over, hopefully. But essentially, nothing to worry about in the short term, but definitely try to stay ahead of the curve and just level up as much as possible, no matter what field you are in. Just find out, how you can utilize this to better benefit your career as a whole. But yeah, with that said, I hope you guys found this podcast very informative. That's all I had for today's episode. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Peace. So do you have a minute to connect? Let's Minect. That's right, guys. I'm officially on Minect now. You guys can go ahead and book me I will be offering financial as well as career coaching based off of the Dave Ramsey principles, of course. So yeah, feel free to contact me, connect with me on Minute, and I look forward to speaking with each and every single one of you.